Welcome everyone, my name is Mr. The Moon, and this is the first devlog for the game called the Colosseum. I've been working on this since over a year now. I started with a simple prototype in which I asked myself, what would it feel like if you're surrounded by a lot of enemies and all of them can attack you at any time. You kind of know when they do, and you kind of can react to it in time, so it would be really fast-paced and really cool feeling. First I thought it would be more like chess, where you kind of plan ahead, and then I realized there's way too many enemies for that. Now here we are. Maybe you played the playtest, the link is in the description below, so if you want to give it a try, please do so and let me know what you think. Feedback is really highly appreciated, it really helps to make the game better. These devlogs will focus on what have I been doing since the last playtest. People always ask me, what are you working on? They never know what the hell I'm doing because it's not too obvious. So these devlogs are kind of me saying like, hey, this is what I do, this is what I did, and this is what we will do. I am working on this game with two other people. One is a sound designer that I did a lot of things with. Really cool games, he's really cool, he's really good to work with. And we got an artist, she's really dope. She hasn't done art yet, so the art that you see is by moi. By me. Terrible artist, I can't draw, but the general feeling of the animations are there, the timing and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter, it's all fill in just so I can see how it feels to attack like this. And how big should the collider be, so you just see what happens. It's all gonna change a little bit, but the general direction is there. Alright, let's start with what did I do in the last some weeks since the last playtest. The first thing I did is I made the Trello a lot more approachable because someone wanted it public and I said no because it was a mess and no one would really understand what the hell was going on there at all. So I made it really clean. Now it's understandable. It's not easy to understand, but it's definitely there. The link is in the description below, so you can check it out if you want to know what I've been working on, what I will work on. We also worked on the art. There is a new shader now in the game. The old one looked really crappy and made everything lit. The new one has an emission map, so we take the sprite sheet, we copy it, and then boom, just draw over it, black, white, gray, whatever, and everything that is black is not lit, and everything that is not black lights depending on how bright it is. So we can really nicely influence how bright something is, so attacks glow a lot, and then when enemies don't attack anymore, they're not really glowing anymore, and only their front parts are glowing, so it looks a lot better, a lot more crisp and clean. Also added lights below the enemies so that they kind of glow. They actually glow with the HDR and the shader, but that way that it kind of looks more like they glow. And also everyone has now their own materials so that they have their own color. The next thing that I worked on was the movement, because I started with like some other abilities. One was like a quick turn so you could do a 180. Didn't work out, so what was left was your movement looked like this and like a curve, so you wanted to go right and you would go like this instead. But what you would expect is that you go left right without like a curve, right? So I changed it so it feels better now that the quick turn is gone. With the quick turn it was okay, but without it I didn't realize that it was gone, so feedback like that was really highly appreciated. Thank you a lot. Also added the energy resource, so now shielding does cost energy. It's not about like how many attacks you block, that doesn't matter at all, it's just for how long do you shield. There's also other things that cost energy resource, and once it's depleted, the shield breaks. And when the shield breaks, you can't shield anymore, so you're really vulnerable during this time. The shield resource is also used for the counter move. The counter is still really strong, but only in certain situations, so you don't want to just spam it because then the shield will break. Roll is a new ability. It also costs energy. It makes you invincible. You can pass through enemies. You can use it at any time while you shield, so when you block you can still use it, because you may not notice that, but while you block you can't do anything else. You can't get out of it. You can counter move and then you can get out of it with that, but you can't do anything else. So you could get CC lock, but with the roll you can get out of it. The roll is really fast. It's kind of like the dash, just with an iframe, and it costs energy. Other new moves that I added for the player are the dash 2 and 3. So after the first dash you can, if you time it well, do a second dash and that goes further. And then after the second dash, if you time it well, do a third dash, and that goes way further than that. You're still vulnerable during this time, but you can traverse a lot of space. Another ability that I added is the EI draw. It is really cool. Currently it doesn't make too much sense because it doesn't counter anyone and it costs mana, which also is a new resource that we added, and mana is also used for healing, so people didn't really get the reason to use it. In the future there will be enemies that really get countered by it. I assume if not we will change the ability, but how it is currently I really like it already. What I dislike to see is that people ran away to keep dashing, spam it, just to get into a corner where no enemy is right now and then just heal up there. I really hated that. So A, it costs something now, and B, it is only possible in the center of the map. We will still work over it in the future a lot, having already some plans to iterate over it, but for now it makes a lot more sense already, and I really like it that it's only possible in the middle. There was a 360 attack which you could charge by holding the attack button. The reason why I was there is because there was no counter move, and once I had the counter move I stopped using the charging ability because it didn't make any sense anymore. It's the same attack that it unleashes, but in one case you have to charge it, in one case you can just counter move, which is way easier, and at this point it doesn't have any purpose anymore, so it's up it. When doing the shield, I had a lot of fun with the particle system, and I did a lot of them for the shielding. I did also some for the healing. I try to not make them too big, even though like when they're big and explode the whole screen they look really cool, but they're not that important. But it is really important that your shield breaks, so there's a big particle effect for that, and I hope you enjoy how it looks. In the new playtest, there's a break when a wave ends, and I did it so that you have some time to heal up or to focus some enemies that really annoyed you, so there were still enemies alive after the wave ends. Not always, but sometimes. And I like the decision making about that, but it doesn't really make sense to people that enemies are still there while the wave ends, and also that they are deactivated for no reason. So that I will take out, that they're deactivated and they're still alive, and I will work over the waves, how they work. The reason that I did this is because the wave system, how it currently works, allows me to do pacing better if I do it like this, but it doesn't make sense to the player. So I need to rework the spawn system to allow me to do the same thing, but also not end the wave. A lot of people wanted bullet reflection to be a thing, so here it is. You can hit a bullet with your attacks, with any attack, and you can shield it and it will always be reflected back to where it came from. In the last weeks I've been sitting down a lot to think about enemies, and I came up with some design rules that are really important. One that is really important and that I messed up a lot is simplicity. All enemies should only have one behavior and therefore be easier to be understood and also easier to make. The first enemies that I made had like 2 or 3 different behaviors, like run away from you, kind of chase you, jump into you, and people wouldn't really understand it when they would change it, what would make them change it, which was usually just your positioning, like how close you are to them, and that was really weird because you wouldn't know their distances, and there's too many enemies at the same time to really keep track of how close are you to them and are you in range for them to change their behavior. I thought it was clever to be able to change their behavior like this, but I saw in hindsight that it just doesn't work out because there's too many enemies at the same time. Another thing that I learned is that there can be annoying enemies, and I think there is a need for annoying enemies because those are the enemies you want to focus. Those are the enemies that feel good when you kill them. But there cannot be as many enemies that are annoying in the scene at the same time as there are currently. So in the current build, enemies still are alive when the wave ends, so the next wave ends. And it could be that all the annoying enemies are still alive, which is the new enemy we added. And then there are too many additionally too many that are already put in there, and that's why the current build is kind of really weird because there's so many annoying enemies. So I learned the more enemies are alive, the more enemies are on screen, the less annoying enemies can be there. So I can put like 5 annoying enemies in there if there's just them, but if there are 20 other enemies there should just be 1 or maybe 2 of them, because otherwise it just gets too much and it's really annoying. Another thing that I learned is that there should always be a counter mechanic to every enemy, and every enemy should clearly be countered by that, and you can still beat them in other ways. The Guardian, for instance, didn't really have a counter mechanic, so I just removed him. I didn't like him either. I think that what I learned about the annoying enemies is really true for him, so I should have made him way stronger, but only made 1 or 2 of them be in the scene at the same time. That would have been okay. but with 20 of them at the same time in the level, and 10 people that they protect, that was really bad. The wolves get beaten easily by the counter. The new enemy gets beaten easily by sidestepping or by dashing. Both is valuable. Also parrying, which is not on purpose, but is also an option. So the new enemy is a long-ranged enemy, so he can attack you before you can attack him currently. I don't like it. I want you to be able to jump into him and attack him and punish him before he does his attack. Usually when he does the wind-up, I want the wind-up to be way longer so that you can punish him during the wind-up. But once he attacks you, once he jumps, you cannot attack him anymore because his range is further than yours. So if you block him or get hit, you get knocked back really far, and then you would have to dash to get back at him. Otherwise you can't punish him. Or you parry him and then you just attack him, or you sidestep him, which is really easy, honestly, and then you just hit him. Now, I mentioned a lot of things, but I didn't mention everything. If you want to see more of what I'm doing, I'm streaming on Twitch live. You can see what I'm working on. You can also ask questions and just hang out. We also added sounds for this build, so the sounds are still trying to figure out where we should go with them. We're still experimenting, so don't hate or love them. And let us know in the comments below what you think about them. Which way do you believe we should go for it? Give us some examples. It's highly appreciated. We also did the story scene again. It's pretty experimental. The scene is pretty well now set up, but the art and the story we tell is still in the making. We still figure out how to tell it, how we should show it, and let us know what you think about that too, because especially those things that we experiment a lot are still really flexible, and hearing your opinion about them, what you like and dislike about them, it's really valuable. This was it. I hope you enjoyed it. This was the first devlog, and since we're on YouTube, I'm obligated to say like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video, and see you next time.